Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have the final of the newest round of Hammond Collection figures that I needed to get up here on my channel. We have the Geosternbergia, and you can see yet again that beautiful Jurassic Park 30th anniversary logo right there on the front of the box, the Hammond Collection logo in the bottom left, as well as that really nice T-Rex kind of silhouette that we have there. And then, of course, the species name right there. Pretty much your standard when it comes to Hammond Collection packaging. Over here on the side, though, you can see a really cool image of the figure. Like, that is phenomenal looking. Like, I really like that. And then the Lost World Jurassic Park logo down here. Even though the Pteranodon we had seen in the Lost World Jurassic Park wasn't actually a Geosternbergia, this, I believe, was the original plan. We had concept art and everything for it, so it's really cool to have a version of it from Mattel here, again, celebrating that potential pterosaur that never actually got to see the light of day in the film. But you can see, again, we have the species name as well as a really cool image of the pterosaur right there. So let's pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our Geosternbergia, and that is just gorgeous. So out of the newer kind of group of Hammond Collection releases, this is unquestionably my favorite of the group. This thing is just beautiful looking, really nice looking sculpt, and actually some beautiful paintwork on it as well. Like, probably one of the nicest pterosaurs Mattel has released, period. Oh wow, we even have painted nails on it and everything. So that is really impressive. Like, this one actually blew me away. A lot of the more recent Hammond Collection figures I was hyped for until I get them in hand, and then I'm a little more let down than I am, impressed. I'm still usually like they're pretty much where I expect them to be, but this one here I think definitely exceeds my expectations. I think this one definitely looks a bit nicer than I was expecting, so pretty hyped about this one. Now let's jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Geosternbergia, straight away, look at the beak. The beak has such really nice detail in it. You can see the nostrils are sculpted out very nicely. And then we transition from this beautiful yellow we have for the beak to a nice brown out here at the tip. And I like how it kind of, instead of being like a really smooth transition, it kind of like speckles in. It looks really neat the way that they've done that. I really like the coloration of the beak and the sculpt and detail of the beak. We of course have an articulated jaw, as you would expect to, and then on the inside of the mouth you can see a really nice looking tongue sculpt in there, nice purplish tone for the tongue, and you can also see some more purple in the back of the throat. On top of that, you can see we have a nice gloss coat for those areas. And if you happen to have caught my recent review of the Legacy Collection version of the Geosternbergia, one thing I can pretty much celebrate with this figure is the fact that we don't have teeth on the inside of the mouth, exactly as we would not on the real animal. So thankfully, Mattel has decided not to give this teeth, which is a massive plus compared to the Legacy Collection version. As you lead up into the crest, you can see the crest does sport some nice detail, and we also have a brownish wash added to it. So it's primarily a yellow, but it's been dulled down with a brownish wash, which highlights the detail beautifully and adds an element of realism to the figure that I really like. As you move down here into the face a little further, you can see we have a nice bluish tone pick up there as we circle around the eye. We have some really nice kind of creasing and detail there in the eye area. The eye itself is an orange. The pupil is a black, and I love the fact that the pupil is facing forward, obviously showing that our pterosaur is looking forward as it's flying. You can see we have a nice light tone here as we transition back from the beak to the throat. Nice light, kind of like an off-white. And we do run down the course of the neck with the blue traveling along the top, the off-white here running along the underside. We do have a nice speckling applied to the off-white as well, and quite a bit of nice looking skin texture and skin detail in that area. As you continue to move down, and we take a look here at the upper side of our pterosaur, you can see the spinal column moving down along the back of the figure, as well as, again, some more really nice looking skin texture. And we, of course, can bring the wings back up. I do like how the blue kind of comes down and stripes and continues to follow along the spinal column, but it kind of disappears here on the sides. We do have a really nice variation of a brown picking up there on the sides, though. Look at that really nice brown showing up. Similar brown to what we see out here. Actually looks like to be the exact same tone. But it looks really cool just having that little extra bit of color variation on the side of the pterosaur. But it also transitions back to that kind of an off-white that we see for the underside up here on the upper side leading out into the tail. The skin texture looks great as we lead out into the tail. You can also pick up again on the speckling moving throughout. And we have lots of really nice looking detail moving down the course of the legs. And look at that, painted nails for the feet of our pterosaur. That is awesome. And if we run out here into the wings, first of all, you can see that the actual texturing to the skin here of the wing looks phenomenal. We have the yellowish tone, but we also have the browns that kind of stripe and design through, and they are super smooth the way they are applied. They transition very nicely. They look great. I love the paintwork of the wings. And on top of that, yes, we do have painted fingernails as well. So Mattel really went all out for this one. And you can see that the actual detailing throughout looks great here on the arm, leading out into the wing. You can also see the transition from the blue to the yellow. We have some nice scoots down the fingers and actually have articulation in the hands, which is pretty crazy to actually have articulation there. And again, the fine detail of the wings looks insanely impressive. And you can see the same style of sculpt, same style of paint, and everything over here for this wing. And if we take a look at the underside, something that you don't usually get from Mattel would be paintwork along the underside of a pterosaur. But you can see that we actually have the brownish tone here on the side. You can also see that we have the nice light off-white running along the underside, the speckles, and all of the really nice sculpt and detail you would expect to see. You can kind of see the chest nicely, the stomach sucked in a little bit right there. Nice wrinkling in the skin as we lead out into the legs, and then you move down into the toes. You can see the toes have some nice scoots moving down. A little hint of sloppiness when it comes to the paint of the nails, but I'm not going to complain because we at least have nail paint on the toes of the pterosaur, and they have a nice gloss coat to them. And we actually have paintwork for the underside of the wing of the pterosaur as well. So you can see that we have that same brownish look here for the underside of the pterosaur, just like we saw on the upper side. So the entire sculpt, all of it is phenomenal. The paint job, honestly, is also phenomenal. I would definitely say this is one of the best, in my opinion again, or I should say this is one of my favorite Hammond Collection releases yet. I just absolutely love this Geosternbergia. Now, as far as the articulation on our Geosternbergia, of course, you have the articulated jaw. We've already seen that. You've also got a spot of articulation right here at the top of the neck that you can swivel and also move up and down a little bit. And if we actually move this, because it seems like it's a little stiff currently, yeah, we got it moved a little bit. There is also a joint here, so you can also make the neck go down and up here at the top of the neck, which is very nice, but you also have the opportunity to do that here, and I'm a little afraid to push it. It's super stiff, but you can see it does that here as well. I kind of maneuvered it a little bit, but I don't want to force it right now for the review, or I'll probably end up popping its head right off. We also have the articulation of the wings, and that does work very nice. You can get the wings down and the wings up really smoothly, and you also have the articulation individually for each leg. You've of course got the hip as well as the knee. And all of this, of course, can swivel. You can swivel the legs all over the place. And then the ankle as well, which allows that little bit of extra articulation, just like you would expect for a Hammond Collection release. The legs are a little off as far as the joints all kind of following together. But on top of that, we also have a bendy wire wing. So you can see you can bend the wings of the pterosaur pretty much however you would like. And I'm really wondering if we can get a nice standing position for our Geosternbergia, so I'm going to go ahead and try to give that a shot just to see if it's possible. So there we kind of have it. I could probably get it a little bit better if I tried, but you can definitely get it into a standing position quite nicely. I mean, again, it's not the most perfect standing position, but I also just kind of did it very quickly just to see if we could pull that off. And it worked, you know, decently. I feel like you could probably, if you put a little more effort into it, could probably get a little bit of a better standing position for the figure overall. But as far as the size goes, I feel like the best way to probably get a size would be to, first of all, the feet being in the wrong spot are driving me, oh, they're all messed up. I messed the legs up entirely trying to do that. But I feel like if we get a size up here, it'd probably be the best way to do it. So for a length on the wingspan, you're looking at about, if I could keep a hold of the tape measurer, you're looking at about the 13 3/4 inch range, or maybe even approaching 14 centimeters actually, or around the, I would say actually around 36 centimeter mark. So yeah, I'd say about 14 inches on the wingspan. And then for a height, if I could just get these legs to cooperate with me, since I messed them all up now, trying to get this pterosaur in a standing position, like they are all just messed up beyond belief. But for a height on the pterosaur, a little over 6 inches, maybe approaching 6.25, or about the 15.5 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Geosternbergia, and you can definitely see it sports a pretty good size to it, honestly. Quite a bit larger than I was expecting it to be. It's not huge, it's not as big as the old Amber Collection Pteranodon, but it is still quite sizable as a whole. And for another comparison, even though I now have it back in the packaging, there is the Legacy Collection version of the Geosternbergia next to the Hammond Collection version. Now, the only thing I will say that's better about the Legacy Collection version is the fact that we have pycnofibers on it, which obviously makes it a little bit more appealing overall, having the pycnofiber-like look. We don't have that for the Hammond Collection version. But obviously, if we're speaking about the Geosternbergia from the Lost World Jurassic Park, I don't recall it having pycnofibers or anything in the concept art, so I wouldn't expect the Hammond Collection version here to have it. But actually having the Hammond version next to the Legacy version, how I realized that the Legacy version is really quite subpar compared to the Hammond version, even though I do like the Legacy one, as it's a little bit different from what we see on this version. The Hammond version obviously is much nicer. And then when it comes to a size comparison with some others from Mattel, we've got the Pachycephalosaurus, the Jurassic Park Velociraptor, and the Ankylosaurus here next to our Geosternbergia, just to show off again the size difference and the fact that obviously the raptor and everything is a bit smaller, the Pachycephalosaurus is smaller, and the Ankylosaurus is larger, but the Geosternbergia still sports a pretty impressive size. We also have somewhat of a comparison here next to the Ceratosaurus from the Hammond Collection, as the Ceratosaurus is attempting to take a bite out of the neck of the Geosternbergia, and they do look really fun together in this sort of a diorama. Definitely a fun way to use the Geosternbergia when displaying your figures. Then we have a standard Mattel Pteranodon next to the Geosternbergia here. You can get a good idea of what the wingspan and everything is, and then basically what they look like size-wise here next to each other. But for another comparison I'm really excited to see, if you happen to have the old Kenner Pteranodon with similar coloration, you can get a good idea here of what they look like next to each other. They definitely look cool. Obviously the Pteranodon is a good bit larger, but, you know, they still look pretty neat, and they definitely have a very fun ability to display with each other. I also love that they both sport the orange eyes, which is really neat. And then for one final comparison, here again is the Hammond Collection T-Rex chowing down on our Geosternbergia, just to give you one last comparison, one last idea of the size of this pterosaur. So this brand new Mattel Lost World Jurassic Park Hammond Collection Geosternbergia is actually really awesome. Like, this is definitely my favorite Hammond Collection figure to come out in quite some time. I like this more than the Concavinator and everything else that we've had lately. But overall, I feel like it also is one of the best painted figures that we've seen from Mattel for the Hammond Collection. It's not one of those figures where you look at it and it's like, well, you know, some areas look a little unpainted or a little neglected. This figure as a whole looks fully painted. Every area of the figure looks really nicely done as far as the paintwork. We've got nail paint, we have numerous different tones of color throughout, lots of different areas of paint application, even a wash up there on the crest. So the paintwork is phenomenal on this, and it nicely replicates that Geosternbergia from the Lost World Jurassic Park concept art. On top of that, the sculpt is phenomenal. The detailing is really impressive here in person. Again, probably one of the nicest sculpted pterosaurs I've seen from Mattel. And actually, speaking of the paint, all of the paint is very precise on this. It looks super, super nice as far as the application goes. And if you combine all of that with the fact that it has really nice articulation throughout, like more articulation than I even expected it to have, and even has bendable wire wings, this is one incredibly cool Hammond Collection release. Again, definitely one of my favorites of all time when it comes to the Hammond Collection, which is really surprising. I was not expecting that. I thought I'd like it, but I didn't think it was going to be that good. So definitely a figure that is worth picking up. If you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on Big Bad Toy Store, so make sure you head on over there, grab yourself this fantastic Geosternbergia, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.